Okay, everybody, so we're going to just take a look at the Salish Sea Scene 2 vocabulary. So the first word is environmental. Environmental. And this is an adjective. The adverb is environmentally. And environmental is the adjective form of environment, which is the noun. So environment usually talks about nature, what's going on outside. But the environment can also just be the place you are, kind of like your setting. So right now, your environment is your house. Maybe you could say your environment is the room you're in right now. That's your environment, right? The place you're in. So sometimes we'll say like, this is an unhealthy environment for children, for example. So in that case, we're not talking about nature. We're talking about the place they're in. But it definitely can be used for nature, and it usually is talking about nature in some case. So that's why I've shown a picture of nature, because usually the environment and environmental refers to nature, especially as the adjective environmental. In that case, it's almost always talking about nature. The next word is honor. And you can see that honor can be a noun. It can also be a verb. This is also one of those situations where we have a Canadian spelling. The American spelling doesn't have a U. So just remember that sometimes spellings are different between Canadian and American. So honor as a noun, it's a feeling you have. It's a feeling of respect. It's a feeling of privilege. We often say it is an honor to have something happen to you, something good, right? So if you get an award, for example, you could say that's an honor. I feel respect. I feel some privilege. As a verb, we honor other people. And if you honor somebody, you show respect. So this picture is a soldier because I think you see this word a lot of times connected to like duty, responsibility. And so it's often used for soldiers. But he or she is giving a salute here. And this is a showing of respect, this gesture. So this body language here is honoring something. It's honoring you, or it's honoring the country, or he's honoring his superiors, the people that are ahead of him. He is honoring other things with his gesture. So he could say, it is an honor to be in the military. That would be a noun. And I am honoring you with this gesture. And that would be a verb. Okay, the next word we have is effects. And notice that I've put effects as with an A, and that's a verb. And this is a very commonly confused word, effect and affect. And it's pronounced a little bit different, right? But we tend to schwa that anyway. It kind of becomes affect when we actually say it in a sentence. So I'd say it's an affect. Now, affects with the verb would be used for he, she, and it. It affects me. That's the verb. Means that it has a result on me. But in this case with the effects, right? And again, I'm saying it affects, right? We can see cause and effect. So you do something and then this is what happens. So this, what looks like an animal, I guess, is making a fire. And that's the effect of what he did, right? Over time, it will burn. However, when we put an S at the end of effect, it tends to mean all of the different things that can happen, right? So what would be the result of this fire? Well, the fire department can come, the police may come, it may cause pollution. These are all the different effects of his action. And so all of the different things that can happen, we put the S for effects. Okay, residual can be a little bit difficult to understand. Basically, it's what's left behind. The thing that remains after an event is the residuals. So in this picture, I'm showing you that after a nuclear explosion, there is radiation, right? So even after this event happened, that's the first event, even after that, there's still some effect that's left behind. That's the residual effect. So these people might be exposed to radiation because of this. Even though this event has finished, this still remains. That's residual. It's lasting. Usually it's used as an adjective. Sometimes we can use it as a noun as well. Residuals, for example, we say like, especially I think you hear that in money a lot, the residuals. So it could be used as a noun. Most commonly it's an adjective. Again, it's residual. Pristine. Pristine is an adjective, and it means very clean, very pure, perfect. Okay? We often use it to talk about nature. So this is a really clean, nice, beautiful lake. We would say it's pristine. There's no pollution in the air. The air is really clean. The air is really perfect. It's pristine. So that's what pristine means. Okay, inhabitants. Inhabitants is the noun form. Inhabit is a verb. Right? And it means to live somewhere. So the people who live in a place are the inhabitants. This picture is the inhabitants of the moon. So it's an old picture of what people would look like if they lived on the moon, maybe. So these people live in that area. And so you'll see we've got their houses over here. That's where they live. They inhabit these houses. They inhabit this environment. Right? That's the verb inhabit. And the people are the inhabitants. Okay, marginal. Marginal is another word that's a little bit difficult to explain. It means to be on the edge of something, and it's an adjective. So, for example, this orange person is on the edge of the group. He's on the outside of the group, but he's not completely on the outside. Still a little bit connected. So, if something is marginal, it's usually not very important. It's not very well known. It's not very important, really. I mean, it's just a smaller issue. It's a secondary issue. We might say he's a marginal musician, so he's somebody that you don't really know that well. Maybe somebody that's not very good. To marginalize is to make something not important, right? To put something on the edge or on the margin. So this person, if the blue people are making him leave the circle, they are marginalizing him. They are making him less important. They're making this person smaller. Okay, overwhelm, I think we can all get. Overwhelmed is an adjective. It means you feel like you have too many things to handle. So this person here is clearly overwhelmed by their work, right? There's time, there's lots of different people they have to call, there's lots of work they have to do. And so they have this feeling of having too much. We can also use it as a verb. We can overwhelm somebody. So these people here that are giving her the work, they are overwhelming her. She is feeling overwhelmed as an adjective, but they are the ones who are overwhelming her. Okay, a tsunami. A tsunami is a giant wave. Here's a picture. I think this is a real tsunami, so it's kind of spooky if you look at it. But this is a tsunami. It's a giant wave that can destroy like a lot of things. It can cause a lot of damage. It's very, very powerful. We call it a natural disaster. Okay, intact. Intact means it's not destroyed. Now, this picture isn't perfect, but it is very famous. This is after the bombing in Hiroshima, the nuclear bombing in World War II. And this is a very famous building because it wasn't destroyed. So it's still standing. We could say it's still intact, okay, because it hasn't been destroyed. It survived. Now, it's not perfectly intact because you can see that, a lot of it is missing. There are lots of holes here. So it's not perfectly intact, but it's still standing up. You can still see the building, so it's still intact. Whereas all of the other buildings were completely destroyed. Okay, a vial. A vial is a container that's used in science and experiments. Doctors might use it. These are a couple of small vials. I think they can be different shapes and sizes, but this is what a vial is. We use it for scientific experiments, mostly. Okay, and a documentary. A documentary is a kind of film or a kind of movie that tells you what is happening in the real world. It's not imaginary. So a document can be a thing, and it can also be a verb. And if you're using document as a verb, to document, it's to record something, to keep a record of something. And that's what a documentary film does. It creates a record of a true event. So here we can see a woman is making a documentary film. We don't use this term for things that aren't films. This is a kind of genre of film. So that's how we're going to use it.